You were born for greatness. Do you believe it?
Yeah.
Andrew, just throw that banana. That awkward moment we almost lit the church on fire by putting the banana on the going heater.
Baked banana.
Baked banana, eat it. Whose banana is it? Who reckons that Andrew should eat that banana right now? Okay, we need an eat it chant. Or we can either do the eat it chant or we can do the slow clap moving to a fast clap.
I'm all for the slow clap.
Okay, this half is going to go slow clap moving to fast clap. What? Oh, lame. Okay. It's not nearly as good. Put it back on the other side. Okay. It's not done yet. Hey, alright, let's try that again. Who believes that they are born for greatness? Who believes that God's got great things in store for them? Even Andrew believes that. And he's eating a rotten banana that he made rotten by himself. Mate, it's pretty cool. Now, I don't know if you've heard this before or not, but you guys are culture carriers. You guys are culture carriers. You guys carry inside of you a culture that's all your very own. And it's made up of your beliefs. It's made up of who you hang out with. It's made up of which people group you most represents you. See, I'm from Matara. So like I was the minority in my town growing up. So I actually feel more Māori on the inside than I look like on the outside. I'm actually a white snifter. A snifter. How good were snifters? How good were snifters? Now I'll tell you what. I'm going to talk to you guys tonight about shifting your culture. You guys are not only culture carriers, you are culture changers. You guys are culture changers. Do you believe it?
Yeah.
Do you believe it? Now, I'll tell you what, I preach way better if people actually talk to me while we're doing it. No. Not talk to other people, but at me. Ask questions if you want to. That's kind of weird, but that's cool. It'll be sweet. AIM is always pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where I came from, that's cool. But actually, we're going to have a great time tonight. Now, in this bit here, who's actually never been to church before, like a youth groupie type thing? That's cool. Shan, welcome to church, man. That's cool. What we do is we do the music part, and often we tell stories and stuff. This is like the message part. So this is the bit where I want you guys to get inspired. Okay, and if you've never been here before, we get real inspired here. So we do challengey type stuff and that, but you've got to understand you are a culture carrier. Whatever is in you will come out of you.
That's right.
So if you've got good stuff in you, it'll come out. Like bananas. If you've got other stuff in you, that'll come out as well. Okay? So I wanted to give you, just right at the very start, I wanted to give you a recipe for changing the world. Would you like that? Who would like that? Who would like a recipe for changing the world? Now this is otherwise known as the love revolution. Alright? So it's real easy. The first one is love God with everything you've got. See, the cool thing is that when you love God with everything you've got, what's on the inside, when it comes out through the fact that you love God. So if you're a skater and you love God, then you'll be a skater who shows other people through their skating that they love God. If you're a rugby player and you love God with everything, you'll use that gift of rugby playing to punch people in the face and tackle people, but show them the love of God at the same time. While injuring them, hopefully. Alright? If you are a muso, you can use that. If you're just someone who cares about your mates. If you think you have nothing, but hey, I think I'm a pretty good friend, you can use that to change your world. You are a culture carrier. See, the first thing, love God with everything, and the second thing, love everybody as yourself. Love your neighbour as yourself. Love everyone around you like you love yourself. Now that's real cool because you have to love yourself as well. It implies that you have to love yourself. Okay? So secular people, so people who don't know God, change the world just following that second one. Secular people, like people who don't know God, can change the world just by loving people. So if you're not a Christian tonight, if you didn't say yes to Jesus tonight, that's cool. Go and change your world by loving other people. Okay? Imagine what we can do if we do both. Because as Christians, that's what we're called to do. That's part of the culture that we are actually giving to other people. Have you ever noticed that who you hang out with, you become more like each other, no matter what your culture is? So, like when I go up to Auckland, and I hang out with some of the Equippers guys up there, after about 10 minutes, I will start saying bro after everything. After half an hour, I will sound vaguely gangster. After an hour, I will start rapping badly. After 2 hours, I will be able to identify my iwi, Ngāti Pakeha. Anyway, see, everywhere that you go has a culture. Who knows that their school has a culture? Your school has a culture. There's sets of values and beliefs and stuff that recognises your school as a school. What's James Hargis getting all up in everyone's grill about this week?
The gold.
The gold medal. James Hargis has how many Olympians? 6. Wait, 6. They have 6.
They have to use it for the end of that, that's why.
So what's Hargis crowing about at the moment? They have the best Olympians in New Zealand. They have the most Olympians out of any school in New Zealand right now. Yeah? So that becomes part of their culture. So that becomes part of their set of beliefs and stuff. Oh wow, so Hargis is a really sporty place. Now Verdun for a really long time, anyone go to Verdun? Verdun for a really long time was known as the best netball team. It was also known as the best choir. Central Southland,
Stage challenge.
I was known for Stage Challenge, yeah, that's exactly right. When I was at school, Central Southland was also known as the best theatre sportsers.
They got a stage challenge?
No, they didn't go to Stage Challenge. Theatre sports was the Stage Challenge of whatever, 60s. Okay. Now, so everywhere that you go has a culture, okay? It has a set of values or beliefs that sets them apart from other cultures. So if you hang out with musos, you want to become more musical. If you hang out with skaters, you'll want to not suck so bad at skating. If you hang out with rugby guys, you'll suddenly want to pass balls around whether you like it or not. At the very least, you'll learn how to catch them instead of the ball going in your face. Okay. But the thing is that a culture falls into one of two categories. Okay? One type of culture, a managed culture, is the way it is because you actually work on that culture. Okay? The other one, a default culture, is the way it is just because it's whatever happens. Okay, so like your schools are probably going to be a default culture. Okay, it's going to be what happens as a result of everyone all sort of mixing in the same space and stuff like that. Who likes the culture at their school at the moment? Okay, there's a few of you guys. Who thinks that there's some stuff about their school's culture that they don't like? Okay, so, and often that's the same people. Okay. So what the teachers are trying to do is have a managed culture. What actually goes on is what's going on, eh? So like, for example, who's got bullying in their schools? But the teachers say that you're not supposed to bully people. But that's the default culture, isn't it? That's why it still goes on even though the teachers say it shouldn't go on. So check it out. Here's my thought before we start, and then we're going to talk about Daniel, okay? If you're not doing something about the culture of your school, you are accepting that that's the culture that you want to live in. if you're not doing something about the culture of your school or your workplace or wherever you hang out, you're accepting that that's the culture that you want to live in. See, the thing is that what you tolerate, you have to live with. So if bullying happens in your school and you tolerate it, you're actually becoming part of the reason that there's bullying in that school. See, it's been said that leadership's most important job is to establish and maintain a culture that is appropriate for the mission. That's our job. Our job is to be culture carriers. We carry a culture. And as Christians, as people who know God, the culture that we carry is unlike anything else around. And when we enter into a culture, when we enter into our schools, either the schools are going to change us or we're going to change our schools. If you enter into a workplace, either the workplace is going to change you or you're going to change the workplace. When we enter into the world, either the world's culture will change you or you're going to change the world. It's the only two options. Either you change or it changes. Okay? So, I want to talk to you tonight about Daniel. Daniel was the man. He was the man. He was an Old Testament guy. When we first meet Daniel, he was probably about your guys' age. So he's about 16 or 17. So like my age as well. He's 16 or 17. Daniel in his time survived getting kidnapped, taken away from his kingdom. He survived 3 kings' reigns. He survived the attempt to kill him twice. He survived a whole heap of other stuff, and he was a slave in another country. That's pretty cool, eh? And all through it, he never changed who he was. Pretty cool, eh? Who knows what culture they belong in? Who knows what culture they belong in? Like for some of you guys, you'll know. Like for me at school, I hung out with the musos. Like I could kind of sing. So that was enough to get me into the musos at Gore High School because there weren't a whole lot of real good musos. I could play rugby, so that put me in the rugby culture. I was a bit of a geek, so back in those days that made you a loser. So I got to hang out with those guys as well. Yeah, there's a few other ones as well, but like in your head you probably think, like in your head right now you're probably thinking where you fit within your friends group, who your friends are, where you fit within your school, where you fit within your lifestyle, you know, all that stuff. Who's doing that right now? Yeah. It's easy to do because one of the things that as a teenager is really important to you is know who you identify with, know who you are, and often it's your friends that you'll identify who you are. Like you'll figure out who your friends are, and through that you'll know who you are. Make sense, eh? Yeah. Okay. So check it out. We're going to go through Daniel 1 to Daniel 6. Is that cool? Yeah. It's going to take us 10 minutes.
Yay.
And then we're going to read it word for word. That's going to take half an hour. No. Okay. Daniel was originally from this place called Judah, right? From now on we're going to shorten his name, so we're going to call him Daniel. Alright. Well, the longer name was Daniel from Judah. Now, Daniel was actually from royalty when we first met him. He's about 17 years of age. What happens is the Babylonians and this king called King Nebuchadnezzar, from now on we're going to call him King Nev, or Neb. What do you prefer, Nev or Neb? Neb? Neb makes sense, that Neb dog. We'll just call him Neb. Okay, we'll call him Neb. Okay, so he was taken into slavery. Alright? Because what happened is that the Babylonians came in and they smashed the Judahites. They smashed them, like absolutely came them, ransacked the temple, did all that stuff. And so the king tells the head of the palace staff to get some Israelites from the royal family and nobility, and Daniel's one of those guys. So that tells me that Daniel was royalty in Judah, okay? Which means that he was like one of the high, like he was considered a pretty high dude. And this is how he said, young men who are healthy and handsome, after that, intelligent and well educated, half again, good prospects for leadership positions in the government, perfect specimens. So Daniel was hot. And then what he wanted to do with them was that he wanted to indoctrinate them. Indoctrinate them means teach them, strip away their identity, and give them, for all intents and purposes, make them Babylonian. So like the king ordered that they would learn Babylonian, the Babylonian language, and they'd learn about magic and fortune telling. Who knows if that's probably not the best thing to learn as a Christian? Hey, I'm going to teach you all of the Harry Potter stuff. No, we're going to teach you all of the black magic that I know, and then I'm going to show you how to look into crystal balls. Who'd be real surprised if people came into church tonight and went, oh look, Ray's going to look into a crystal ball. That'd be pretty weird, wouldn't it? That'd be rather strange. Okay, the king, so they got 3 years of training, and they also got the same menu that the king got. So they got the same food. Who would like to eat the same stuff that kings would eat? That'd be pretty sweet, eh? After 3 years of training, they'd be given positions in the king's court. Wait a minute, that doesn't really sound like slavery. Daniel was renamed. Now, check out what his name was. His name was Daniel. Everyone say Daniel.
Daniel.
He was going to be renamed Belteshazzar. Belteshazzar. Now, at the same time, we get introduced to three of his mates. We get introduced to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, the crazy thing is that we know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but their names were actually Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Okay, so the first thing the Babylonians wanted to do was take Daniel's name away from them. Who's ever been called a bad name before? It's funny. Mel, please stop calling Josh bad names. Okay. It's interesting that when someone wants to hassle you, someone wants to pick on you, the first thing they do is they will call you something other than your name.
They call me my name.
Apart from Jesse, you just like it's just. Anyway. Jesse's last name is Dick, just by the way. Now it's real interesting to look at the. When someone tries to hassle you, the first thing they do is they call you a name that's like not actually your name. So if I wanted to hassle Jason, the first place I would go is probably Jason! You know, like off Rick Starby. Jason! Jason! You got your handbag! Give me your handbag, mate! Jason! Jason, come over here, Jason! Okay, that's kind of okay. Pretty much after that, I'd go anywhere else. Okay? Gorton. Gorton, you weighs a ton in Gore. Must be all the KFC and... Okay, it gets real. From that, it goes into all kinds of other stuff. The reason I'm picking on Jason is that he's the king of the burn. And we're dethroning him tonight. Who's ever been called a bad name? Who's been called a bad name because of what their name is currently? Who's had their name changed from something to something else, and that's just what you get called all the time now? Okay, I had a friend once whose name, through an unfortunate telling of a story that wasn't true, he was called Hoister for 5 years. Hoister for 5 years. And the story is just horrifying. Like what you're thinking is probably not good enough for why he was called that name. Okay?
What was his name before Worcester?
His name's Dom. He's a good friend of mine. I was the best man at his wedding. Hey?
What's wrong with Worcester?
Ask me later. Alright. So check out what Daniel's name originally was called. So Daniel meant God is judge. So the only person who could judge Daniel was God. That's a pretty good thing, eh? Hananiah was God is gracious. Mishael is who is what God is. So Mishael was like, that means a man after God's own heart. And Azariah was who God helps. And that name, that identity got stripped away from them. Who knows that if you blindly follow the culture of the world, you forget who you are and how God sees you. So if nothing else tonight, you take away from this, I need to remember who I am, and I need to remember this is the way that God sees me. It'll be awesome. You'll learn something really cool. In each case, the Hebrew name spoke of God, the true God, and their names were changed to speak of the Babylonian gods. So don't let the world change your name or your character. So nearly all of Daniel's outward life was changed, but they couldn't change his heart. So Daniel did this thing, and this is in Daniel 1. Daniel did this thing, he wouldn't eat from the king's food. Why would he not do that? Well, the king's food was the absolute best food in all the kingdom. But not only that, it included the best alcohol. There's a couple of guys going, okay. Who's still drinking from the king's table? Come on now. I'm just, there's a pastoral trying to trick you. You guys passed. No, anyway. He didn't eat the king's food or drink, and the king was actually really worried. The head of the palace was actually really worried about it, and they said, no, just give us vegetables and water. Just give us what we need to fill ourselves. Don't give us anything more than that. And see who looks healthier after 10 days. And they looked real healthy after 10 days, so they were allowed to keep feeding them that same stuff. So they got given this education, right? God gave these 4 young men knowledge and skills in books and life, so they were smart, like book smart. And in addition, Daniel was gifted in understanding all kinds of visions and dreams. So he was actually a really good fortune teller. He was a really good fortune teller. Why was he a really good fortune teller? Because his source was correct. So the rest of the Babylonian guys would ask the Babylonian gods, who would say, jack squat. Daniel, on the other hand, would ask God, and God would go, yeah, no, this is what's going on. There's this and this and this and this, and this is what you need to tell them. It's quite easy to be a good fortune teller when you know someone who knows the future. Yeah. That's true, right? It's just... So, funnily enough, at the end of their training, the head of the staff brought them into King Neb. When the king interviewed them, he found them far superior to all the young men. None were a match for Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And so they took their place in the king's service. Whenever the king consulted them on anything, on books or on life, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his kingdom put together. The reason? What they had to offer the king was real. Yeah. As Christians, as someone who knows the one true God, you have the answer to the questions that all your friends are asking. And I'm sorry, the questions are not, what's the answer to number 2 on the maths quiz? The question that they want answered is, why do I feel alone? Why do I feel like a loser? Or put in a slightly more positive spin, why am I here? Why am I here? You guys have the answer to that question. See, the cool thing about Daniel was that he had a culture of enthusiasm and excellence. He was enthusiastic about it. He actually embraced learning all about Babylonian culture. Why would he want to do that? Why would Daniel want to learn about Babylonian culture? What culture was he trying to change? Babylonian culture. So in order to know how to change a culture, you need to learn to speak the language. So there's no point, let's say you're on a missions trip, there's no point going up to an Indian person and trying to speak to them in English, is there? Even if you put on a really bad Indian accent and bob your head a little, probably Apu off The Simpsons, hello, how are you today? Thank you very much. They will look at you weirdly. Is it any wonder why when we go up to friends that know nothing about God, when we try to use our Bible language, when we try to use the flash and fancy words that we learned, that they just go, huh? What? You'll get more people come to know God by saying God's flippin' awesome than saying God is Trinitarian, 3 in 1, Father, Spirit, and Son. God's flippin' awesome. Why? Because I really like him. Why? Because he speaks to me. What? Yeah, I hear voices. What? No. I pray to God and he actually tells me like what I should do and stuff. He actually talks to me. What? You know, there was this one time. What? Actually, he really loves me. In fact, he loves everyone. He loves you too. What? Sometimes we make things so hard. See, Daniel did everything in the same manner as the Babylonians. When he interpreted his dreams, he used the method, like the way that they order their dreams, the way that they set out the dreams. The thing is his source was different. So while the method was the same, so like if I want to prophesy over someone, which is like I want to speak into their lives, hey, I was praying the other day. Everyone's prayed to someone at one stage or another. Everyone has prayed something that's like, Flip, if you're up there, you've got to help me out now. You know, the emergency prayer. Help me out, no, do something, it'll be awesome. Bargaining prayer. Everyone's prayed that prayer. Hey, I was praying for you the other day, and I reckon that this is what God told me to say to you. He really loves you. He thinks you're awesome. We went very quiet all of a sudden. Who's had that happen before where they've had something that God's told them to say and they haven't said it because they didn't know quite how to say it? Okay. Just keep it real simple. If it boils down to God loves you, tell them God loves you. It's probably what they've been waiting to hear all their lives. You've got the answer to their question. It's selfish to get the answer to yourself. So, Daniel had he interpreted dreams, he had Babylonian education. Now, and he had the ability to relate to the Babylonian culture because he learnt that culture's ways. The thing is that Daniel only went against Babylonian culture when it went against God's ways. Did you know you can be a skater and be a Christian at the same time? I know. Do you know that you can be a muso and be a Christian at the same time?
No.
Did you know that it doesn't matter what culture you find yourself associated with, becoming a Christian doesn't actually change the fact that you can still relate to that culture. Your identity is not stripped away. Your identity is not stripped away. People think that they won't be themselves when they become Christian, when actually you become the person that you always wanted to be anyway. You become you without your crap. And actually, anytime you have crap in your life, you know what to do with it. That's one of the big differences between being a culture-carrying Christian and someone who doesn't. Is that when you know that God loves you and he wants to look after your problems, anytime you have a problem, you know what to do with it. You don't have to bury it. You don't have to drink it into oblivion. You don't have to escape from it. You don't have to sleep with it. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You know what to do with it. See, the thing is as Christians, we're not the fun police. In fact, it annoys me so much. We should be the most fun people on the planet. Because we don't have to worry about half the junk that everyone else has to worry about. We should be the least messed up people in the world because we know who to take our mess to. We're not the fun police. We're not the, hey guys, you shouldn't be doing that. Leave that to your youth pastor. We aren't the judge. We're never called to be the judge. We aren't the jury. We aren't the executioner. We're not called to judge people. We aren't even the moral compass. It's not even our job to say, that's wrong. We're allowed to go, hey, you probably shouldn't do that because it's going to really have really bad consequences for you. The same way that you tell a mate if they're about to step off a cliff. Hey, you're about to step off a cliff. Can you please stop? Thanks. Oh, I didn't want to bother him. What the heck? heck didn't someone tell me that that decision was going to end up like that? We are called to engage with... we're called to engage with the world, but not be of the world. What that means is that we get to hang out with everyone we already hang out with, but we should be the ones who change the culture of those around us, not the other way around. We're influencers. There's something inside of us that other people need.
That's right.
See, people need to know Jesus. They just need to know him. Why? Because you needed to know him. He changed your life. He took you out of your despair. He helped you deal with your junk. For some of us, he's probably still helping you to deal with your junk. If you have the answer, why would you not give that to someone else? See, we are apostles. We can influence and change the culture in our world, and that's what Daniel got. He really, really got it. Like, he really got it. Check out the rest of Daniel's life. It's going to be real quick. We're going to do it in 3 minutes. Are you ready?
Go.
Yeah, we're going to do it in 3 minutes, okay? Daniel 2. King Neb has a dream. No one can interpret it. Guess who he calls on? Daniel. Now, the crazy thing is that the guys came and they went, "Hey, King Neb, you had a dream." He goes, "Yes, but I'm not going to tell you what it is." And they go, "Flip, well, now we can't guess. What are we going to do?" And he goes, "Well, you're just wasting time. I'm going to kill all of you. I'm going to execute all the fortune tellers," of which Daniel was one. Daniel goes, "Flip, better do something about this." Goes to God, says, "God, what does this dream mean?" God tells him, goes to King Nebuchadnezzar, King Neb, not only tells him what the dream means, but tells him word for word what the dream actually was in the first place. In fact, he peeled out all of human history right up until when Jesus came. That was what he did. That was what the dream was about. Guess what King Neb's response was? Daniel did exactly what the king wanted him to do. He did it in the manner that the king wanted him to do it. Guess what the king did? King Neb, he was the king of the Babylonians. He was the most powerful man in the world, bar none. No one was more powerful than him. Guess what he did? He bowed down. Like, he worshipped Daniel. He worshipped him. The most powerful man in the world bowed down and worshipped him because Daniel knew a God that got answers. He worshipped him. One of the things that we have as Christians is that we've got a culture of honour. See, we honour other people. What that means is that we honour the gifts of God on their life, but we also honour the person. See, Shan's he's a real good singer, right? Shan's a real good singer. Now, I can honour Shan because of the gift of God on his life, or I can also honour Shan because of who he is. Does that make sense? One of them is because of something that God gives him. One of them is just because of who he is. So check it out. This is what King Neb said. When Daniel finished, he fell on his face before Daniel. He ordered the offering of sacrifices and burning of incense in Daniel's honour. He said to Daniel, "Your God is beyond question, the God of all gods, the master of all kings, and he solves all mysteries. I know because you've solved this mystery." Check it out. The most powerful man in the world proclaims God to be the biggest God. He puts God over his own gods. That's cool, eh? Then the king promoted Daniel to a high position in the kingdom, lavished him with gifts, and made him governor over all of Babylon, and the chief in charge of all the Babylonian wise men. So he's now in charge of the faith. He gets put in charge. It's a dangerous place to be. And then his 3 friends got to go through Babylon, and Daniel governed from the royal headquarters. Daniel honoured those who were in authority over him, and the king honoured the gift of God on Daniel's life. Every time Daniel stepped out using the ways of God, he was promoted. Why are we so scared to step out in God's ways? Do you know your teachers would probably be stoked if you prayed for them? Like seriously? Oh, hey miss, you looked a bit stressed out last night, so I prayed for you last night. Are you feeling any better today? At the very least, all you've done is told them that you cared enough to actually include them in your bedtime prayers. God bless Mum, and God bless Dad, and God bless Miss Crabapple. Sorry for her stink name and her stink attitude, but God, please bless her anyway. It doesn't take much to change the world. It doesn't take much to change the world. See, every time he stepped out, he was promoted and the opposition got tougher. So Daniel 3, Ned builds a statue, right? So he builds a statue.
Yes.
He builds a statue, it's a golden statue, which looked exactly like the dream that told, anyway, doesn't matter, read it yourself. And he told everyone, when the band plays, you have to bow down to this statue of me. And Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, they went, nah. They stepped up. And they got thrown in a furnace. Which kind of sucks, apart from the fact that they weren't hurt at all. And not only that, 3 people went into the furnace, right? And they saw 4 people in the furnace. 3 people went into the furnace and they saw a 4th person hanging out with them. Having a yarn. Probably laughing. Oh look, you're gone a kind of tan colour. Who's this other random dude? I don't know, but he seems very nice and we'll probably meet him again in the New Testament. They come out unharmed. The people that threw them in got burned. That was how hot it was. They died. Like it was that hot, they threw them in and they were still fine. I love that story. It's one of my favourite stories in all the Bible. Check out what King Neb says at the end. Neb said, "Blessed be the God of Shad, Mad and Abad." No, that's it. Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. He sent his angels and rescued his servants who trusted in him. They ignored the king's orders and laid their bodies on the line rather than serve or worship any god but their own. Therefore I issue this decree. Anyone anywhere of any race, colour or creed who says anything against this God will be ripped to pieces, limb from limb, and their houses torn down. Now that's worship. You say bad? No. That's not. That's in the context of like the most powerful king in the world who could do whatever he wanted. Like, please don't do that now. Look, if you say anything more about God, I will rip your arms off and beat you to death with them. I had to beat them to death with my own shoes. Anyway, there has never been a God who can pull off a rescue like this. Daniel 4. Neb's still saying, God's awesome, but I'm also the most awesome king. He has this dream. Who does he go to? Daniel. So he goes to old Danny boy. Daniel doesn't want to interpret the dream, like not at all. Because Neb goes, well, what is it about? Oh, you're going to be cut off at the roots, you're going to go mad, and you're going to eat grass like an ox for 7 years. Thanks very much. King Nebuchadnezzar, he promotes him again. Why? Because he actually answered the question that he gave him. So King Ned goes mad. Like, all work and no play makes King Ned go something. Go crazy, don't mind if I do. He eats like an ox, he gets down, eats grass and stuff. Ned loses his kingdom. 7 years he goes mad for. When he comes back to his senses, he's praising God's name. It's crazy. Like this is it. So 4, Daniel 4, check this out. Where is it? Everything he does is right and he does it in the right way. He knows how to turn a proud person into a humble man or woman. Pretty cool, eh? 5, the second king was Belshazzar, right? He starts drinking out of the gold cups from God's temple. God starts writing stuff on the wall. He starts writing stuff on the wall. And they go, hey, is anyone able to interpret this? And they go, hey, let's get Daniel! Actually, the Queen says, let's get Daniel. Gents, if your wife tells you something, listen to her. Anyway, if you don't have a wife, File that away and thank me later. Alright. So there's this writing on the wall. And anyway, they get Daniel to interpret it. So you know the saying, the writing's on the wall? That's actually where that comes from. Cool, eh? The writing's on the wall for that person. Okay, so guess what happens to King Balthazar? Daniel comes in, has a look at the writing and says, hey, I got some bad news. God's weighed you and you're going to get killed. And Balthazar goes, well, that's awesome. Here, have a gold chain. I'll give you a purple robe. You're now third in charge of all my kingdom. That night he gets murdered. And number 2 gets put in his place. So guess what Daniel is now? He's number 2 in all the kingdom. This guy who was the slave. He's number 2 in all the kingdom. The last one, by this stage, Daniel's now 70. He was 50 years have passed. He's lived through 3 kings. And this last guy was called Darius the Mede. Daniel distinguished himself over the other governors because of his excellent spirit, right? So, the other guys tried to find something about him, and the only thing that they could find about him was that he was religious. That was the only thing that they could find about him. So what they did was made the king sign a law that said it was illegal to bow down to any god other than the king. So bow down to anyone other than Darius. So guess what Daniel does? Here's his response. So he prays 3 times a day with the windows open. And it says he actually prays and praises. So like he's not only going, Jesus, please help these people and save them and stuff like that. He's like going, actually he wouldn't say Jesus, would he? He's actually going, he's turning towards Jerusalem because that was the way they prayed in those days, and he's going, God, I really need your help! I really need your help! Does that sound like hiding? See, the crazy thing is that opposition is never a reason to hide your faith.
That's so good.
See, when Daniel learned that this law had been signed and posted, he continued to pray just as he'd always done. 3 times a day he knelt in prayer, thanking and praising God. The conspirators go, sweet, we finally got him. He gets thrown in a lion's den, and the lion's mouth gets shut. Nothing happens to him. Like the king is trying to find a loophole to get him out. Because he loves Daniel. Daniel gives him the answers that he needs. He comes out, and Darius promotes him again. He's now in charge of everyone, apart from the king. Like he doesn't even really have a title anymore. He's just like Daniel the Awesome. Just like Daniel of no... You know people that have no job titles are generally the most important people in any... No, like Steve Jobs didn't really have a title. Bill Gates, what does he do now? Anyway, who knows, but he makes a lot of money doing it. We're going to finish up. Go, Ray, I believe you. Okay, this is it. See, Daniel's identity was tried to be stripped from him, right? So the thing that we can learn from him is that you can set yourself apart. You guys get to obey authority whenever possible. See, in our current culture, obeying authority would automatically set us apart from everyone. The great thing is that if you're a culture carrier, you don't actually have to throw it up to whatever culture you're part of. You can be part of that culture and give people God's culture as well. So guys, as the musos get back up. One youth, we can't impact who we don't include. We can't impact who we don't include. So guys, when it comes to deciding who is in and who is out, be very careful. Don't decide in your head, oh, that person won't ever really listen about, won't listen about God, they won't listen about why I love God. They're probably looking for it in all the wrong places. As a youth, we need to be inclusive. I don't care who comes through those doors. We need to be the most inviting, the most welcoming youth group around. We need to be not only at youth, but at schools. We need to be known for being embarrassingly enthusiastic. And I'm not talking about, hi, I'm so excited today! I'm not talking about cheerleader enthusiastic. I'm just talking about, you know what? I've got English now. And I hate English. I was an English teacher, so Santana. You know what? I'm going to do my best. See, it's okay to be in a culture but not of a culture. It's okay to embrace a culture as long as it doesn't impact who you are in God and who you are. See, you might not fit into the culture or image of the world, but there's a place for you in God's culture. There's a place for you. And when you join God's culture, when you say yes to Him, it doesn't strip away your identity, but it launches you into the best person that you can be. I had a real rough time at primary school. This is the last story, and after this, what we're going to do is we're just going to sing one more song. If you want prayer, we're going to pray for you. If you need a Bible, we're going to give you a Bible. But this is my story. When I was at primary school, I had a real rough time at primary school, right? We used to play this game called Government. Okay, and everyone would get really cool. So like one person would be the governor of superheroes. And one person would be the minister of awesomeness. And one person would be the minister of McDonald's. And one person would be the minister of other stuff. Every time we played this game, I don't know why I played this game, because every time we played this game, I was made the minister of toilets. And at the time, as an 8-year-old, I couldn't actually understand why that upset me. Like, I knew it was bad, but I didn't actually understand that. What was trying to happen was that the people I was playing that game with were trying to say, I don't actually want you. I don't actually want you. Young person, if you're here tonight, you need to know that God loves you and He wants you. And you are included. You are in. You are in. You are in. So I don't care if this is your first time at church. I don't care if this is your first time to one youth. I don't care if this is your thousandth time. I want to tell you guys welcome. I want to tell you guys hi. I want to tell you guys that you are welcome here. I want to tell you guys that you can be whoever you want to be here. I want to tell you guys that not only that, if you decide that you want to do something as a youth group, we're going to get behind you and go, you know what? That is a flippin' awesome idea. Let's do that. See, in our culture, in our one youth culture here, what we're going to do is we're going to be the biggest encouragers on the face of Invercargill. Who are you? I'm an international global internet hacker. That's awesome, amazing! What kind of hacking are you into? You guys have a culture, and you guys can give your culture to other people. So we're going to sing. If you need prayer, and we're going to pray for you. If you need a Bible, let us know. We'll give you a Bible. If you just want to talk to someone, then we're here on Facebook. You've now got Shannon's cell phone number. You can get mine if you want. But hey, all I want to say is welcome. Welcome to the culture of the kingdom. Amen.